Hello everyone, I'm Wendell Jones and welcome to this edition of our program, Jones and Company. On this program, we examine the national issues of the Bahamas. The Progressive Liberal Party is heading into convention, and it's going to be an interesting convention because we are going to see a new leader of the party and a new chairman and some other new officers as the party prepares itself for the future. The party lost miserably the 10th of May 2017, and so it's going to be a convention that a whole lot of people are looking at. They're watching this one to see who will emerge as the leaders of the Progressive Liberal Party. On our program today, we are going to be speaking with Mr. ObieWilchcombe, the former Minister of Tourism, who is running again for the position of the chairmanship of the party. We say again because he served as chairman of the party prior to the 2002 general elections. It's our pleasure to have ObieWilchcombe here today. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Good to see you.
Nice to see you. This is the first time we are meeting since the general elections.
That is true.
And so you know I'm going to ask you first up about the general elections of 2017. You lost.
I did.
And a whole lot of people were surprised that you lost. Were you?
I was surprised. I was surprised that we lost, particularly having done so well in places like Bimini, and that's where we lost, because Bimini showed the economic turnaround. It was doing extremely well. I think there was a disconnect, however, with the people who came to work in Bimini, and there would be the new Biminites, say, and the Member of Parliament and the party. And I think what happened was we did not connect as we should have, and that's why we lost in the Bimini area. In the West Grand Bahama area, it held pretty much the same, and we would have won that area had it been separated, but the truth is, it was one constituency. So yes, I was surprised, having worked extremely hard for the economic turnaround to create the sustainability, and to see that Bimini was now taking its rightful place. But I believe that we were affected by our lack of communication, ineffective communication, and getting the message out.
So there was a disconnect with the new people, you say?
Absolutely, because many came from New Providence and Grand Bahama, and they were working there, but they were not a part of the Bimini community, say. They were working at the hotel, and we didn't find the way to get there and talk with them and cause them to want to be a part of what we were fighting for. And so they pretty much held to their positions, and obviously many were supporters of the FNM in the past and believed in some of the narrative that was being spread throughout the country. And so I think we paid the price for it, and I understand. But I've had wonderful years as a member of Parliament for Bimini and the rest of West Grand Bahama, 15 years, being the first person ever to secure Bimini for 3 consecutive times. So I feel very good about that, and having represented a constituency. It's my home, and West Grand Bahama is, and I still have a lot of things I want to do there, and I'm still working to get those things done.
Mm-hmm. And you served for 15 years as a member of Parliament,
yes.
Right? But there was a disconnect around the country. This was, as I said, a humiliating defeat for the Progressive Liberal Party.
I think we did a terrible job in getting across what we were doing. And of course, the FNM did a brilliant job in getting across the opposition to the PLP. We were not spending enough time speaking to the issues. We were not causing people to understand what we were trying to do, how we're seeking to rebuild the economy, how we're seeking to create sustainability in the islands, how we're seeking to reduce the cost of food in this country, and the things that we were doing to better the country. But we weren't getting that message out. And so with modern day technology, the FNM did a very effective job. They took advantage of causing people to understand their arguments and talk about a better Bahamas. And of course, their message sold extremely well. You know, it's the people's time, and that did sell. And we did not, I think, really handle it effectively. And so at the end of the day, they won.
You ran a bad campaign, and a campaign, I'm told, with some inexperienced people.
I think we took long to get out there and get our message out. I think we did not sit down and really concentrate and recognize the change in Bahamas. One of the things that we all must appreciate in our country is that you have a growing population. And every year there are 4,000 graduates and more. And the truth is they become members of the voting bloc in the next election. So after any general election, there are another 20, 25,000 new voters. So how do you connect with them? And if you have unemployment employment and they're not working, well, they're likely not to be with you and cause others not to support you. And then, of course, I believe we lost support with the trade unions. I think that we did not focus on that relationship. I think we moved away from the comprehension of our memorandum of understanding that PLP is supposed to have with labor. I think we disappointed the customs. I think we disappointed immigration. I think we disappointed the police. And I think that at the end of the day, they had to make a decision. And so if you're the police looking for their overtime, say, and they've won it in court, well, it should not have happened the last minute. They should have received it. We made a promise to custom and immigration to pay them what they were not getting properly. And we were supposed to do that after we won. We took 4 years to handle it. You're not going to get that vote. And I think we did lose support with the Creole grouping, and because we did not understand how effective our decisions were in dealing with their matters and repatriation, and I think that we made some decisions that hurt that block of vote, and that block of vote really hurt us at the back end. So we were doing things and not appreciating, and I don't think that our intelligence was getting back to us, and we didn't reach out to get those people back. So look what the F&M did. They took a candidate who was speaking Creole, and he went out there and he connected effectively with the people. They went out and they got Defense Force officers, they got people who could connect with the people, and they did it very effectively. So the campaign became more scientific, and we have to appreciate that there's more scientific in this game now than we truly understand. And so it cannot just be impressionistic support. I'm a PLP and I'm an F&M. No, it must get deeper than that.
Yeah,
as long as our people are exposed.
And you didn't mention the 2 referenda, and the list goes on and on. And so when you put all of these things together, ObieWilchcombe,
yeah.
You were governing poorly. You were governing badly.
I think we were doing some things. We did extremely good work in transport, extremely good work in, I think tourism did some good work. We did, BJ Knowledge was doing extremely good work in national security, although we didn't get the murder count down the numbers that we wanted, but he was putting things in place, particularly with the Defense Force. We were doing some good things for governance, but in terms of getting the message out, ensuring that people understood, and then balancing what was going wrong and not maintaining relationships. Even if you can't do something, maintain a relationship. If you can't get the immigration matters resolved with the officers or get the matters resolved with the customs, well, you should at least talk with them and ensure that they understand what the issues are, because you cannot promise, because their plank was simply, we want you to deal with these overtime matters. Well, that was the plank, and that was the issue that we said we would. Well, when you don't do it and they begin to take action, striking and stopping work and everything else, but that's going to mount up against you. And I think that we did not handle those things effectively. And that is why when you consider why we lost, well, it wasn't because we weren't trying to move the country forward, because we saw some things. We created jobs. The economy was growing. Some things were happening, but the truth is you can do all those things, but you don't touch the people. Anybody could say things, anybody could talk about things, but the truth is, how do you make me feel? We didn't make the people feel as good as they should. They didn't want to come and support us as they should have, and we didn't get that message across. And I think that that's why we lost. PLP is a party of the people, for the people, by the people, and we did not carry that through as we should have effectively.
Wouldn't you say that one of the major mistakes had to do with the referendum on gaming and the position that the party did not take on that gaming issue? That you had no horse in the race when the people voted. There were all sorts of mixed messages.
That's an accepted position. I think what happened was we had a referendum, and the referendum was to provide an indication of where the people was. It was not a binding referendum because it didn't have to be. The truth is the people spoke, though, and although it was a very low voter turnout, they spoke. Now, what we sought to do subsequently was return to a discussion, first of all, with the church and with the people, because we had other pressures from the OECD and from other multinational organizations that were concerned about this business or the illegality of the business, and so we had to make a decision. So when we, and I personally spoke with the late great leader of the church that really led the way, and he spoke with us about what we were going to do. And so when I went to Miles Monroe, I spoke to him and I said, you know, here's the issue. And what he said, listen, you have to govern. If you ask us what we think, well, this is going to be our position, the church will never change its position. But you have to govern. And so it was trying to get the church to understand. We had subsequent discussions with them. I think, again, we did not communicate it properly. And so the people felt that we defied their position and that we did not respect the decision that they had made. And so, yes, I think we handled it poorly. But these are things, as the Prime Minister said, on occasions, these are teachable moments, and I think we learned from it. But the truth is we're facing a very serious situation, and we had to deal with, make some decisions and move forward.
With respect to gaming, and since you were the minister with responsibility for gaming, was the industry, even after you introduced it and it was legalized, was it properly regulated?
It is properly regulated now. In fact, it's one of the best regulated. We received high marks all over the world, from leading countries all over the world. The minister is saying something else now. I'm not sure what his argument is, but no, we had high marks from all over the world. All the international organizations giving the Bahamas high marks, some of the best legislation ever, and regulation. We have no issue with that. There's been one issue that has been raised, and one of the houses always argued that we were allowing for too many houses. Should be a number that all must have, or that they should not exceed. Well, again, free market enterprise, that was countered by others within the business. So we left it there, and we figured over time it's going to solve itself, because some will not be able to sustain the number of houses they have now. But generally, it was well regulated, has been well regulated. And in fact, when I hear the argument about taxes, don't forget now, there was a time when we had casino taxes at 19%. That was brought down in the 90s, casino taxes, which I think was a mistake. And so what happened was we earn less from the casinos now. Now for the gaming houses, we argued with them, and they pay more taxes percentage-wise than does the casinos. Well, the truth is they also hire 3,500 Bahamians, but casinos only hire 1,000 Bahamians. See, so there's a big difference, and so I don't understand what this argument is, because when you think about it, you have the gaming houses. Not only are they hiring 3,500 Bahamians, not only are they paying their taxes and paying their taxes on time, and not only are they created a community fund, which I think is now in excess of $2 to $3 million that is to be used for sports, for culture, for programs within communities. Not only are they doing things for the community, so they are making a contribution. So in terms of regulation, the regulation is in place, and they've been abiding by the regulation. In fact, I'm on record of congratulating them on many occasions, because we had meetings and we had differences of opinion, and they met with the gaming board, and the gaming board sat with them, and we brought experts in from Europe, experts from the United States of America, and all over the world sat with them and walked out of those meetings saying these guys have done an incredibly good job and these guys have been professional. So I don't know this criticism that I do not support. I think the minister's going a bit too far, and sometimes I'm wondering what's really driving this, as opposed to, it's not the regulation. The regulations are in place. You have a difficulty, change them. You don't have to, in my view, you don't have to make some of the statements that he's been making.
You are of the opinion that the web shop gaming houses are paying the kind of taxes that they should be paying? Because I seem to think that there's a view that they are undertaxed.
No, you could, but think about the growth of the business. And don't forget, these were done in phases, and we did leave in place a position that we will revisit it. But here's the position. When they came in, don't forget they had to pay all their back taxes. They had to pay back taxes, millions and millions of dollars they had to pay back taxes. Well, many people have not had to do that. So you couldn't bring them in, legalize it, make them pay all the taxes and all that was owed government from 3 years out, and then after you've done all that, then you say, I'm going to put you on a tax that's going to be extremely high. They said no. In fact, they argued that our tax should be equitable to the casino taxes, and we thought no. They got annoyed about that, but then they were able to work with it.
Why would you tax a gaming house when you suggest that they were doing something that was illegal? If you were doing something that was illegal...
For years. They were doing it for illegal, and we were saying...
so you taxed them for the time when they were doing something that was illegal.
Absolutely.
I didn't understand that.
Well, at the end of the day, we were saying that you were doing it benefiting from the Bahamian people and taking home all this money, and so some of it must now come back to help the Bahamian people. It's a simple issue. It's a moral issue more than anything else.
You had the legal authority to do it?
Yes, we did. Once we agreed and we sat down and we went to Parliament and agreed, yes, we did.
But there's a complaint that the gaming houses are popping up all over the place.
Well, that was the concern. In fact, Mr. Flowers
near
raised
churches,
that.
near schools.
Yeah. And the regulations, the zoning restricts that. In fact, when we legalized the houses and when we agreed to the final count of houses, and when I put the moratorium in place earlier this year, we announced the zoning at the same time, because that took some scientific work, and we had to have people out there looking at where they are, how's it going to work. Now you got to put people there to police it. There's a job that's created as a result of these things, and the jobs that are created are supposed to be able to ensure that they don't do certain things. They have to be a particular distance from schools and playgrounds and stuff like that, and that has to be done.
So would it be your suggestion then to leave the taxes as they are?
I think you have to revisit it. I think as was promised. As was promised, as we said, they have to look at it, but have to understand how we got here. So once we understand the process of getting here, why this was done in a particular way, and then when you talk about them, you got to talk about the casinos. Are you going to increase the casino tax as well? You go back to 19%, or are the casino taxes going to say, well, we have an agreement that's going to last forever? You know, don't forget, I'm one of those who criticize the fact that we allowed the casinos to demand upon us that we couldn't have more than 3 casinos in the capital city. When, but because they're thinking about their interests, but not thinking about our interests. Our interests is to create jobs. Our interests is to create opportunities for Bahamians. And we didn't do that, and so we allowed the demand to be made, and so therefore we're restricted from doing certain things. Well, the same rights that the foreigners could have, I think the Bahamians should have.
A national lottery, the current minister believes that the government should consider the introduction of the national lottery now. Why didn't the PLP introduce a national lottery? And do you think it's in the national interest to put in place a national lottery now?
The original thought was that we didn't have the population to sustain a national lottery, and that argument is still out there. But the Prime Minister, former Perry Christie, when we were in London, in fact, driving in London one day, he was telling us that we have to move toward a lottery because look at what happens around the world with national lotteries. They fund, say, the Olympics of London. They funded the Olympics. They fund education. It can work. Now, the question is, who's going to run it? Is it going to be run by the number houses? Is it going to be run by the state? Who's going to do it? Or do we create another company to do it? I think you're going to eventually get there. But again, how is it going to be managed? And what is it going to do? And what effect is going to have, say, on the houses as well? All these things have to be taken into consideration. I'm not opposed to it. I'm not opposed to it at all. Because I do believe, and that is why we have the fund and the community fund that we have in the Gaming Act now. Because my view is you have all these sporting teams, for instance. We're getting ready for the Olympics, eh? And you're going to see, sooner or later, you're going to hear the guys start talking about we don't have enough money, whether it's for softball, whether it's for basketball. Here's an opportunity for the Bahamas for the first time in 2020. We could have one of the best basketball teams going to the Olympics, but you got to qualify over the next several years. Well, to get there, you need money. Well, that's why we wanted to put it in there. We had a softball team, do you remember, that were rated number 3 in the world, men and women. Well, why don't we get teams now ready for the Olympics and also track and field? But to do that, you need money. Well, some money is sitting there now. That was the whole purpose. Well, lotteries will assist, but we created this fund that if they access that fund now, the government can, in fact, provide funding for the Bahamas Basketball Federation, for the Softball Federation, for the track and field, and we'll be able to assist our teams in getting ready.
Okay, let's take a break here. This is Jones and Company. Our guest on the program today is ObieWilchcombe, the former Minister of Tourism, and he's running for the chairmanship of the Progressive Liberal Party. We'll get to that. We'll take a break. We'll come right back.